Hey guys, how's it going? Ghosty Rich here today, and today we're going to be swapping out the valve cover gasket on this 2009 Mini Mellow Yellow. So, as you can see, first thing you need is a Torx. Don't ask me the size, it's just a big one. And that's going to pop off these. The next thing you're going to want is a 10 mil socket here so we can loosen this. Give me 1 second, I'm going to get all the tools ready to go, and then you'll see me just unscrewing a bunch of things. So right here, you'll see this clip. You can lift it with a fingernail or a screwdriver. Be gentle though, because you don't want to break the tab. Lift it up, just like so. Oh, come on, there we go. We'll put that off to the side. Pull this cover off. Might as well just start taking things off around the cover so we can access all our bolts. Now, one thing is if your engine bay is way dirtier than this, I would highly suggest you actually clean the top end of your engine first. Now, one thing you'll see me do is I'll grab this, I'll move this out of the way, and just for right now, I'm going to put this back in. Before I pop the actual cover off, this will have to come off, but just covering this is really good practice. Also, if you haven't done your spark plug in a while, you can always do that while you're doing this. So the next thing is pop these all up, take these, put them off to the side. It's pretty easy to know which one goes where because they only fit in one location. I'm actually just gonna put this up here, and these screws right here, make sure you put them somewhere where they can kind of grip like that, because otherwise you can lose them and then you will cry. And the next one is right here. Again, lift that tab. After you do that, now let's see, there we go. Oh, it came off the clip, that's okay. And then again, off of here, I'm going to need, wonder if that's this size. Let's see. No, I didn't think so. Okay, so we'll get that one in a second. So I grabbed the proper socket. We're looking at an 8 mil. Take it off. Take that bolt. Off of there. Don't put it back on because this one's going to come off later. Now we do have some sensors on the motor here. I'm going to see if I have to take those off. I'll know in a second. Again, we have another clip right here. There. And we might disconnect this. We'll give that 1 second. First thing I want to do though is I want to get this intake box out of the way. And I might have grabbed the wrong size. No, I just haven't engaged my ratchet. There we go. After we have these disconnected, you can see it's on a rubber, so you can just leave it there. Next thing, this one's probably going to be too big. Yes. Put this off to the side. The size for that one was T25 for the box. Again, they should have a little bit of a gasket there, or maybe not. If they don't, let's see. Does it? Oh, it does. Perfect. So just leave the screws in. Don't try to take them all the way out. Like, pop them out, but yeah, there's something in there to hold them. Now, after we do this, these are loose. Oh, lost my bit. We have one last one right there. I'll show you another trick after this. This is just going to make your life easier and give you more room in our bay. Again, there's 4 in there. See how that's moving now? That's good. But we also want to take off this one. So 7 mil. There we go. After we've done that, take this, slip it out. The reason why is now we can move this up, flip it around, and you can see the clip properly. There you go. Put this somewhere safe because there's a MAF sensor in here, and you do not want the MAF sensor to get broken or dirty or anything. So I like to put it off. Leave the air filter actually in here if you want, or actually pop it out. And the reason why is because this is the end that you don't want to get dirty, because this is the opposite side of inhaling. If dirt falls in there, you can always vacuum it up. And even if there's some dirt left in there, if you can see it's already dirty in there, and that's because that's where it's inhaling from your intake. Next thing to take a look at here are these are fun. You have to try and wrap your fingers around both sides and wiggle them. Oh, like I said, this one you will have fun with. Let's see if I can move it enough, get my pinky in there. If not, another thing you can do is get a flat blade screwdriver to put pressure on the one on the inside there. So you're squeezing both sides of these, you'll feel the ribs, and then it slides out, and you do that there. And I think we have another one on this side, possibly. This one here. This one's fuel, we're not gonna remove that. And let's see, again, we got another clip. That can go there. And we got another clip. And another clip. There we go. So now, as you can see, this all folds around so we can get access to everything. This tube, let's see if I can move it over. Right there, perfect. Just taking a look. Again, we'll take care of that after. I think we've got the major portion of what we need out. We're gonna try to take this out with this sensor in. If we can't, because some of the times those sensors will hold it in. We'll deal with that after. But now I'm gonna go around and just take out every one of these bolts. And I believe they are, I'm just gonna double check here. Yeah, a 10. So go ahead and just make sure you get every single one of them. I don't think I'm gonna bore you by showing you this part, but literally just put an extension on it and loosen them, and then we'll count the bolts and I'll tell you how many there are so you can count yours, and we'll look over it so you know you've gotten them all. This one, 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 yeah, all the way around. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Next, you have 2 more right in here. We're gonna take those out. But before we do, it's a good thing to pop out your coil packs. Now these are suctioned in, so that can be a little bit more fun to pop out. Now, let's see if I can do it just like that. There. Like I said, expect some suction, and they'll probably still be, oh, yes, they will probably still be pretty warm if you've been driving at all. There we go. And that's clean, clean. We're just looking in here for any oil, because you know what? We're cleaning all of them, which is good. But if you see oil in here, what can happen is there's 2 things. If you see water and it's kind of rusting your plug, it means this boot's leaking. If there's oil, it means that the seal around these could be leaking as well. So it's always a good idea to take a quick look in there when you're changing your spark plugs. Now, if you have to take out these spark plugs later, because you're gonna do that, you need this. A specialty spark plug socket, 14 millimeter, and it looks like this. Just a heads up. Now, when you're doing your gasket, you should also change, it's a filter membrane in here, I believe.
It's a PVE.
PVE.
Down somewhere. EVP.
EVP. So how you do that is make sure you pop that clip up. Use something, well, it doesn't matter if you're replacing it, but, and then come around the back end. And then after we've done that, let's see, come on, be nice. Oh, this one popped back down. Oh, wait, we got it. And then, there, ha. So, this right here, make sure you replace this as well. It's another gasket. If you start seeing this start leaking or anything like that, it's another thing to make sure you do. Check this all out. This one, I don't know. Maybe I'll check that out here in a sec. But yeah, make sure you take a hold of this one. Woo, and don't lose that. Put that back in. Put this back on. And actually, maybe we should just do perfect. Just like that. And that. Perfect. Okay. So this one, again, make sure you get right here. Get that one out. Now you might need a magnet for in here if you don't have any needle nose. Well, needle nose might be a good idea too if you don't have a magnet. I think we're good there. And the last one here. The other thing you could do is just simply, when you lift it out, just dump it out after you get it off the top of the motor. Now I expect a little bit of resistance when lifting this because, well, let's face it, it's gone a very long time on the motor. Been very reliable to this point, and it's been very, 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 very heat soaked. So it moves. That's a good sign. So give it a little bit of love. Lift up, wiggle a little bit. This end might be a little bit more stuck than other ends. And then this is gonna be your fun end. You could, let's see, maybe I didn't wanna release this, but let's see. Let's see if I can just stretch that right there and lift it out. There it is. Top of your motor, my friends. $3, go pick it up. Next thing, always away from the engine. See how there's some gunk? Always go away from the engine. Go ahead, like I said, run your finger across. Make sure that you have gotten everything. And you're gonna see some staining and stuff like that on the block. You see that? Don't worry about it. Leave it alone. You're literally just feeling for any imperfections and looking for any imperfections on the top end of the block here. Like for example, if you were looking here and you've seen like a zigzag, you're like, oh, that just kind of looks like my cement. No, that's a hairline fracture in your block, and that's not a good thing. So you don't want to actually look too hard, because if you do see one, you might cry. No. But after you're done here, and you know, if you have a second person, they can feel and go over it and make sure it's just nice and clean to the best of your ability. You're gonna come over here, and as you can see, this gasket was already kind of half kicked in. It's old. I can feel that it's old. It needs to be replaced. It's got, when you feel the old gasket and then you feel the new one will feel probably pretty hard. The other one will feel like a silicone soft and kind of squishy, might even be a bit tacky, and that means that it's going to have that good hold. When they get heat treated over their 100,000 kilometers and whatnot, or usually way more than that too, it's definitely worth swapping it out. So when you swap this one out, make sure you also swap out these ones. You should get some smaller rings that might sit right here as well. Also, when you're in that engine, make sure this area is clean too, where these two sit. All right, hold this one out, and the big one. These ones, what we're gonna do is line them up and just sink them in. When we torque these down later, it'll seal them up perfectly. But we just want, and you'll instantly feel the difference in gasket. Like, it's so night and day. Like I said, it's like an old hose. When you feel a new hose and an old hose, one will feel like an eraser almost, and then the other ones will feel kind of stiffer and whatnot. Like these just feel way better. And this is how they were from factory. It's just, it's the way she goes. It's best to start in a top corner like so and just start to squeeze it in. See how this is built up more? This is actually an improvement. This should have been on the other gasket, but whoever it was, not gonna put anyone under the bus here, but what they did is they didn't put this in properly, and they ended up making their own gasket maker to seal that corner. And yeah, wasn't a good idea. Made it more fun for us. So don't be that guy. Now, just gonna double check here. Yeah, there's actually a groove in here. You'll feel it. It's in your cover, so this will sit right in here. Also important, don't ever try to clean your valve cover with water. The reason why is if you put it on and it'll put water in your engine, and that's the opposite of what you want. All right, and again, we're just lining it like so. Oh, look at this. There's another indicator right here. So, see right here? Another piece that slips in there. You can hear Mika upstairs. Probably top. I was saying, indicate the duct. There we go. So, as you can see, we have quite the ridge sitting up here, which is a good thing. Now, as I told you before, the guys that had this did gasket makers, so I can still already see I might have to pop this up a little bit and clean off a little bit of edges in here, but this is how it should sit. This should, it's got another piece right here. You just want to make sure it's sitting as it should for when we seal it. This part right here is the only part where it seems a little questionable. So I'm going to take a look at this, make sure we're sitting right, and then we'll go put it back on. It's all good. Next thing to do, just once again, double check before we go ahead. I don't see any ridges. I think we're good. So go ahead, take it by even the oil spout right here, and you can pop off the oil cap again. That was fancy. Okay, so now when you're coming in, hold it by oil, as I said, just slide this under here first, because this is your annoying spot. After that, down. Now, I like to lift up a little bit and then look with a flashlight. Make sure it's still sitting in the groove when you go, because if it's not sitting in the groove, you're gonna have a mess. So take a flashlight, just inspect all the way around, and then just hand thread in, or just snug down, not tightening, just snug all these bolts down. Newton meter torque wrench. You can do anywhere from 10 to 11. I will tell you right now I'm set to 12. Let's back this off to 10. Perfect. So we're at 10 Newton meters right here. Again, make sure it's in Newton meters. Go ahead, smack that on, and we're going to start with our two inside ones, and make sure when you're doing this and you tighten it up, leave that one for a second, and then I'm going to also do this one. I want to get both the inside ones kind of singed up first, and these will be your starting. That's the tight. Perfect. Next, we need to do our outside ones. So here to here to here, then over to here, and get those done, and then we'll talk about the inside ones. So, like I said, did the two insides, then tightened, 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 came over here, up, 2, 3, and then now we're just gonna do the two on the back, and then the last three on the front. And that should be all there is to this. Again, when you're tightening, you can start like that and then just do that. Another thing that some people like to do, you can do this too, is depending on how easy you can access these after, some people like to let their car warm up and then re-torque them. If you're really worried about doing that, you could always just add, after it clicks, a little bit more, even a quarter more turn, and just make sure that it's down a little bit past 10, so it's closer to 11 foot-pounds. Again, just be careful. You don't want to crack or bend your valve cover. That is the most important thing. The other thing we're going to do is when we seal this up is we're going to, like, I still have to do this, but see how a little bit of oil got here when I put the valve cover back? I'm going to clean that up, and we're going to, of course, watch for any oil as we go. Also, if you don't know this, before you use your torque wrench, make sure it's always stored in the 0 position. So I'm just going to go back around just to double check some random corners. But, oh, don't do that. There we go. And like I said, random checking. Perfect. So now that we've done that, let's start plugging things back in. First thing I'll probably pop back in is Mr. Tube right here. And from there, you can start technically slipping these back on around the motor. I have to say though, after doing this on a Jeep and other vehicles, this vehicle really isn't that bad to do the cover on thus far. I should really not jinx myself, but it's okay. I'm doing it. All right, and I gotta put this ground back on, so I'll grab my 10 mil. Again, this does not matter for torque. Just get it nice and tight on there, so that way you know you're good. This is the clip that broke off, which is fine. Life happens. And, I mean, this is pretty self-explanatory. Slide it in. This one, you could even come in from underneath, slide it in. So we've got those two. This is gonna be for right there. Let's go ahead and slip some coils in if you want to. If you noticed any leaks, make sure you clean those out. Also, if you see a leak in there, don't forget it could also be your spark plug. Just gonna double check your rubber gasket, squeeze them down. Go like this. Just make sure that it actually seals proper. And now when we go and put our plug on, like so, that'll click down and lock in, just like that. Next. Oh, these have the Dutch connector on them. That's cool. There's a Deutsch connector. Oh, no, see, it rejected me there. I always like to push in a bit as I'm going. And again, you're just making sure you're fully seated on that plug. Going down, oh, and there. Pushing down again around the ring. If you're interested for more information on doing that plug, I have a video on it for doing the spark plugs. Once again, if you're like, oh, why didn't he show it? I did, just not on this video. Okay, so now that we've got that, we're not going to put our cover back on yet because we need to put our ground wire on with the screw. So this will go right here. This one will go right here. And that one should be an 8mm. Okay, like I said, nothing too crazy. You don't want to break that stud off, and depending on how old your valve cover is, if you go to crank that down, or that stud is, you could snap it off. As long as you know it's not going to loosen up, that's all that counts. Okay, plugged. This is sealed. So we have one more Zine plug right here. Last plug right there. It's nice, it's locked in. So both are slightly threaded, as you can see. You can now line these clips up. Down, we're locked in. Now it's time to go back to the T27. That is done, and this one is done. Last but not least, I'm going to swap this back because, as you can see, we didn't get anything in our spot there, so I need to grab my air filter. Slides on air filter back in, make sure it's in the groove. And all bolts accounted for? Yes. I like to start by sinking it back into here and then lay it on. You don't want to ever slide it on the gasket because the rubber might not seal up afterwards. So now that we've done that, slightly tighten these by hand if you'd like. And again, you want to tighten these, but don't go He-Man. If you start ramming on these, they won't tighten anymore. Let's see here. And last but not least, perfect, plugged. Next thing to do on this, grab your clamp. Again, tighten this. You'll feel it lock up. It'll get nice and tight. But do not, once again, go He-Man with a ratchet or you'll crack it. So that's pretty good. See that? Okay, last bolt right here. Again, don't have to go He-Man. This just braces your air intake. I'm gonna grab a 10 mil, finish this up, and then we're gonna start it. Good stuff. So, we'll let it do its thing. Again, I took the intake out of the lane just because I wanted to have that extra room. I could have done it technically without that, but that extra quick second was definitely worth it in my books, just so this wasn't in the way and all that other fun stuff. Now that we've gone through, done that, I would go ahead, drive it for maybe 500 kilometers, and then check your torque again on your bolts. After you've done that, check your torque, you know it's good, it's all said and done, you're good to go. Well, thanks again for coming out to play. If it's a like and helped you out, subscribe for more. Peace.